Hello everyone, and welcome to a series I will be calling Off-Meta Kings. This series will be a chance for me to showcase some strong tier 10s that just don't fit the mold of the current meta. That is not to say that these tanks don't have their flaws though, so I'll be sure to include my final thoughts on the vehicles at the very end of the video, and including any changes I would like to see made to them. Generally though, these will be vehicles that I find to be a joy to play and quite capable of snagging some high damage games, as you will see in the upcoming gameplay. Alright, and the first tank I wanted to feature in this new series is the Panzer VII. Now, I think a lot of people kind of write this tank off as a meme now, but I found it to be pretty enjoyable to play, really. I found that its gun performed really well, actually better than, I expected for a super heavy tank like this. So yeah, I felt like what better tank to serve as the first video on the channel. But yeah, so I have two replays for you here today. The first one, we're going to be playing an encounter battle on Sand River. We did get the eastern spawn, which I feel like is probably the best side for me in this tank, actually. If I was playing a medium tank, I would probably want the other side, just to be able to peek the D6 doing a bit more hold down. But from this side, I think playing a Panzer VII is not going to be too bad. Now I have two choices right here. I can either push up to the D7 position and try and just play our side of the dune, or I can go into this riverbed just south of the cap circle. And considering it was encounter, I kind of felt like most of the fighting would be up north. I feel like that typically happens on encounter on this map. But yeah. Also, if I went into the riverbed, I feel like their spawn gets a much better positioning on K-line to be able to counter me, and I just didn't really want to get stuck there. So yeah, starting off here, we're gonna push up into D7, try and get some cross shots onto anyone crossing the A line here, and unfortunate. I'm not sure if I missed or bounced that one on the IS-4, but he managed to get away there, and now we have a Sturm Tiger, and I'm a little worried here because if he's auto aiming me, he can actually probably hit me over this ridgeline. That doesn't seem to be the case here. We put one right straight through his upper plate because he's at an angle. We followed that up with a second shot now, and really I'm just trying to farm as much damage early a game as possible. That's really what you should always try and do. Early game damage is oh so crucial when you're going for a third mark like I was in this replay. This replay, this was the first game of my third mark session, actually. The second game was actually after my third mark session, when I was just trying to fill out the remaining games I needed for the leaderboard ranking. But yeah, so looks like we have this E100 player who's kind of had enough of me already. I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure what I did to, make him upset, but he has decided to just drive at me. Unfortunately for me, or fortunately kind of, if you look at it from a damage perspective, is I don't really have any teammates covering me very well. Most of them actually did move south, so he does survive a long time. He makes it really far, and luckily for me, he bounced all his shots. Guess he didn't really have a good idea of the armor on this thing, and it doesn't have the greatest armor for a super heavy, especially like turret armor wise, but if you don't really know where to pin it, it can be a bit of a beast to take on. So we get a nice clutch shot into the cupola, the AMX M4 there as well, shutting him down. Not really the worst start to the game. We're already up to 3,500 damage, the armor is holding up very well, and as I say that, the MBTB puts a very good shot into the side of my tank there. Angled a bit too much there, but I'm going to try and overpeak for the Yag Tiger. He's trying to make a getaway here. We're just still trying to get some damage in, keep the gun firing. That's just the name of the game, really. And interestingly enough, this Yag Tiger actually goes unspotted, like right in front of me. I didn't really think those bushes were that effective, but he does get lit again. Another unfortunate bounce off. I could have definitely aimed that shot a bit better here. And we'll have to see if those missed shots or bounced shots will come back, because our team's not really doing too hot now. We're less than 4 minutes into this game, and We've already lost 7 tanks, and yeah, I think that's it's not going to stop anytime soon. So yeah, I realize we've lost the north, really, and it's just me and this tortoise here. We have another TD a little further back, but I'm not really counting too much on him. I wasn't even sure if he's playing the game at this point. So I decided to turn around and try and stop these tanks progressing through the crack in the mountains here, and we managed to get a good shot into the side of the IS-4, and we're just going to keep pushing. I was worried about the tanks behind pushing in on the tortoise. I was hoping he was just going to be able to handle that, but it looks like he's decided to turn around and try and help me here. But yeah, just trying to feather the shot here. Managed to get one right through the drive wheel. Probably a pretty good pin roll there to be able to go through. The IS-4 does have some really good side armor. And right now, I know the grill was spotted up north, and that's what I'm really worried about. I really think he's going to peek this ridgeline, but here comes the Jagdtiger, and I will not pass up on free damage. But yeah, so I just want to keep my frontal armor facing this way. I wasn't really too worried about the MPDB, considering he was pretty low HP. I was more worried about this grill. I figured he'd be coming down the 0 line, and really I'm just trying to make sure I get the shot on him. I know I believe he's a 2-shot, so I'm going to have to shoot him multiple times anyway. And yeah, it's, again, not looking good. It's now just me and this tortoise left in a 2 versus 8 scenario, and I decide I need to try and make a play. If I sit there, I'm just going to get flanked. I need to try and get up toward the map border to be able to try and at least cover myself from one direction. Unfortunately, just as I make this play, the grill actually gets spotted right where I was pre-aimed, so a bit unfortunate. But I want to get up here and go after this Bat Chat. The grill decides to push in, but I'm not going to hang around and try and get a shot because I think the Bat Chat's right around this corner. In reality, he actually did go past already. He's coming back down the 0 line, as we'll see in a moment when he gets spotted. But we get a good shot into the MPTB, a bit of a low roll, but it's alright. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and try and finish him off. Try to keep our tortoise alive for a little bit longer here. There's the Bat Chat on 1200 health, so it's going to take at least 3 shots for me to kill him. Tortoise gets a good shot into the grill, so that puts him down to a 1 shot for sure. And now we're alone against 6 enemies. Yeah, this game definitely fell apart rather quickly. We miss a shot under the 4005 turret, and this grill takes his opportunity, maybe a little overeager here, because I guess he doesn't expect how this tank to really have a quick reload like it does. It's not the fastest reload in the world, but you know, it hits for 560, and it's definitely a faster reload than most of the other super heavy tanks. Now, I recognize that the AVRE is in front of me, but I feel like my armor is going to hold up against him, so I decided to go for the Bat Chat instead, as I don't want him flanking me. We give him a good nudge to make sure he gets down to a 1-shot, and we finish him off. He only managed to spend 1 shot on me. And now, for now, we're just in a 1v1 against this AVRE. There's nothing really I can do much against him. I mean, an HE tank, it's just trying to keep front toward the enemy at this point. But we aim just to the left of the gun mantlet there to be able to pin the weakest armor there. I decide I'm trying to focus the E5 more. He's got the HP, he's got the armor, but I expose my turret a little bit too much to the side, and the AVRE actually does manage to full pin. That would have been a tough scenario to take down regardless, so not too upset about it. We end with 9.2k damage. I'm just trying to think back, like, imagine if I had managed to pin a couple of those shots on the Jagdtiger maybe, or the IS-4 at the very start. Could have definitely been a 10,000 damage game, but it was a really good start to the session. I was very happy with it, especially considering, you know, how our team did that game. You know, I don't think there was too much we could have done better. Maybe supporting the tortoise a bit more, but I was just trying to play my life, playing for damage at the end, because the chances of winning that game were pretty slim. So, yeah. So I ended up playing a couple more games in the Panzer VII, managed to get the 3 mark on it. I'm not really too interested in going for the 4th mark at this point. I'm going to see kind of how the MOE changes pan out and stuff, but I was just kind of excited to get the 3 mark. I noticed I was only a couple of games, I believe 3 away from the 100 battle requirement that I needed for the leaderboard on WoT Stars. So I decided to try and go for it. I was sitting around like I think 4,700 average damage in the tank. And the only other person near that was Tinky. He's an old clanmate of mine, so I was seeing if I could beat it, and I think this was my second to last game in the tank. And we got Thiefville Ridge this time, another encounter battle. Unfortunately for us, we got the south spawn, and you know, I wouldn't say that's the favorite side on this map. I feel like they get a lot of strong positions. C3 comes to mind. They can even make their way across the field entirely and try and play the backside of like D8 on our hill. So yeah, you know, having the low ground and a super heavy, you know, we're not really fast enough to make too many plays. I try to get into an early position to get some damage in. We catch the machine, but it's just the top of his turret. Not really able to do too much. And with artillery targeting us, I decide probably just best to pull back here. I don't want to trade too much HP at the very beginning of this game. So we just decide to preserve our HP a bit and try and go look for a shot somewhere else. But yeah, the Panzer VII, it's been a pleasure to play, really. You know, playing other super heavy tanks like the Type 5, like the E100, the 60 TP. I find those tanks to be kind of a struggle to play, and this one was so nice, and it's entirely because of the gun, right? The gun feels amazing. It doesn't have the greatest DPM. You know, you're looking at about, I think it's 11.1 second reload, roughly. But it does have pretty decent alpha. It's 560 alpha, so something you're probably used to that on something like the WZ111 QL and the AMX M454 if you're the fan of the French heavy tanks. But yeah, it's a nice amount of alpha, and when you cut the reload significantly from something that has like 750 alpha, like the 60 TP or the E100 with a big gun, it feels really nice, and I think it's a good middle ground. I think they could do a little bit with like improving the reload a bit. Maybe shave off like a second, make it like 10 seconds. Maybe even like half a second would be nice. But yeah, I think all in all, a pretty good tank, pretty good gun on the tank. That's what really made it so much fun to play. It's also got kind of a unique armor layout, and it was recently buffed in a balancing patch. So they ended up buffing the side scraping weak spots, which, you know, I wasn't really a big fan of the buff when it first happened, but getting to play with the tank, I think it felt pretty good. I think the main issue with it, obviously, in its current state, is the turret. If you shoot just to the left or right of the gun, maybe a little lower, you can just pin straight through. It's only like 250 mils of effective armor. Like even standard rounds can pin it if you get a good roll. So it's kind of a blaring weak spot, and it's just always there if you're going for any kind of damage, because you have to peek your turret to get shots in so they can see you. But yeah, it's got very good hull armor, especially on the lower plate. So you can actually peek corners like I am doing right here, where you're just sticking your front out. It's going to be really hard to pin at ridiculous angles like that, especially if they're shooting down on the lower plate. Like it's going to be pretty much impossible to pin. It's only really when they're shooting up into it that it becomes maybe a bit of a problem. But yeah, you know, we're trying to make an advance here now. We pushed up a little. They don't really seem to have many TDs in the back. This T-95 I'm a little bit worried about, but it just seems to be a couple of medium tanks up in the back, and they're kind of struggling with my armor a little bit. You know, the APCR on the Leopard 1, probably not really enough to go through, and it looks like the E6 is firing AP as well. So what's really giving me a pain is this artillery, as he manages to take out 2 crew members with 1 shot there. I believe he also killed my commander a couple of shots ago or something like that. So my medkit's still on cooldown. I'm just waiting to get that back. I noticed on the map that these heavies are hanging around E8, and they're going to be exposed in the open if I keep pushing here. And I want to start trying to get some map control into the middle of the map and see if we can do anything. We're off to a pretty decent start, 3,900 damage. We've traded a lot of our health, but sometimes that's just what you gotta do. You gotta take the artillery hits. Nothing really you can do to avoid them. Luckily, artillery doesn't seem to do too much damage to this tank, but it does get annoying after a while. We were lucky that both the artillery in this game were actually batchat artilleries, so low alpha damage, but very fast rate of fire, as long as we can try and stay on these ridge lines. They don't have the best gun arc either, and they're currently having to run because their team's kind of abandoned them at this point. But yeah, we're just trying to extend our vision here. We're going to use all these trenches to our advantage, see if we can get a shot into this T-30 here as our light tanks pushed up and spotted him. He peeks, we get a good tracking shot onto him as well. And yeah, I mean, I felt pretty confident about this game at this point in time. We were already up by 2 tanks. I felt like map positioning wise we're doing good. I was kind of in just like farm mode, like I was just trying to get as much damage as possible before the game ended. T-30 gets spotted again. We managed to finish him off, and that's the alpha damage right there, just putting in work. He was on 558, so it was a nice, pretty average roll. Would be able to finish him off, and it's just so nice to have that extra 560 alpha compared to something like an IS-7 or the small gun E100 having 490. The 560, it just feels so much better, honestly. It was kind of the same way when the QL came out, right? Like, the 560 on the QL felt so much better than the 490 on the 5A. But, yeah, we got a very nice ammo rack on the Batchat 15558, the auto-loading tier 10. And we put a nice shot into the tier 9 as well as he's running away. Unlucky that we didn't ammo rack him as well. That would have been nice to see happen, but let's see if we can get the finish on him. There we go. Secure the Pascucci's medal. Not something you really get too often, especially in a super heavy tank like this. And yeah, I mean, with that ammo rack on the Batchat already, a free 1400 damage. We pump our damage total up to almost 8,000 at this point. So really good game. This was really going to help me out on my leaderboard chasing, and yeah, I was just seeing, I was starting to think at this point, maybe 10k is possible. I mean, I didn't really pay too much attention to the HP of the enemy tanks. Last I saw, the E4 was pretty healthy, so and I hadn't seen the M103, so I was like, maybe 10k, It looks like they're going after our artillery at this point. We take a look. The Leopard's down to 800 hit points, so he's still got another shot, maybe 2 in him. And yeah, we're just trying to push forward, get forward. I thought we were still pretty firmly in control of the game. The E4 did fire, so I'm not too worried about being spotted here. He has a pretty lengthy reload, so I think we can make the push up here at this point. And yeah, right now, I mean, I'm just trying to get some vision on these tanks. I'm starting to kind of be worried that our team might think about capping here. I see the heavy on my team kind of parked in the cap circle. We get a nice shot into the lower plate of the E4 there. And we're going to try and get one into the M103. Not quite. The E4 actually makes it behind the ridgeline as well. And yeah, I see the Tusk. He starts moving south. And right about now I realize that. I'm thinking, I might be able to get a shot on him. He actually gets re-spotted by the TD as he's closing in. We get a really nice shot there into the Tusk as he's driving by. Would have been nice to roll a bit higher there, maybe get the kill on him, but I can't complain with a 600 roll. And yeah, all of a sudden, we're losing the game actually. And I was kind of surprised at this point, and I was a little caught out by it because I was trying to push across the middle of the open. I was like, now I don't really have support. I don't really trust these 2 tanks that are in K5 to really do anything to help me. So I was just trying to get toward the red line, get behind the hill, somewhere I couldn't really be flanked from. And we actually get spotted here. And I'm thinking there's got to be the TD or something up in the bushes. Maybe the light tank's made his way up there. But the light actually gets spotted down below, and it's actually this M103 that's peeking right here. I guess he was using the bush that was just ahead of him there. We try and get a shot right below into his gun mantlet. It doesn't quite pen. It would have been a miracle, really, if that one went through. But the E4 gets spotted, and he was just sitting right there, just behind the bush. I mean, crazy that a tank like that has that much camo, but yeah, so I'm a little worried about pushing this at this point, because, you know, an E4, very strong tank now, and all it takes is for him to, you know, press the A button, load the gold, and, you know, my armor is gonna not really matter too much to him. So, I'm still worried about this E4 potentially being in the bush, but I noticed that the targeted icon goes away, so no one's really looking at me like I would expect the E4 to, and he does get spotted peeking lower ground here, so I take the time to push up. Gonna see if we can try and catch out this M103. I'm just hoping he doesn't lose much health, because I see that I'm on 9,000 damage. I'm like, maybe this will be the game. Maybe this will be the one I go over 10k. And I watched the E4 lose basically all of his hit points. I miss my snapshot, and I'm just... I'm heartbroken, really. I'm just watching my chance of a 10k slip away. But the E4 does finish off the E100, and it's just me and this bad chat left, and I do still want to win this game. But I would like to push over the 10k threshold as well. M103 shoots my gun mantlet, damages my gun only. We could put a good shot through his cupola. Pretty lucky that one went through. I should have repaired my gun before I fired. But, you know, the nerves were getting to me, and there we go. 2 shots into the M103, and we push our damage total over 10,000. I was pretty happy about this game. And I did not expect to do it on this map as well, and this variant, so, you know. Not too much HP left on the enemy team here, so I'm just going to try and push forward. I'm only really worried about the E4 at this point, but there goes my bat chat, and he is down as well. So now it's a little tricky. I mean, I have all the HP in the world, these guys don't really have any, but I need to get them out before they make a getaway. And I'm really worried about this Leopard. Leopard, since its recent buff, has a very good gun, it's got very good camo, but he actually makes the misplay and drives straight at me. I guess he wasn't expecting me to be as aggressive as I was in this scenario. We put him down, and now I'm not really too worried about a Tusk. He'll do a little bit of HE damage, but it's whatever. I really want to get this E4 out, and we get one right into the underside of his cupola there. Pretty lucky that one went through. The E4 cupola is pretty renowned to bounce shots nowadays, and yeah, I was pretty just excited about this. And I expected the Tusk to try and play the low ground. He's actually like so fast and makes his way all the way around. We finish him off, pose for the camera, pick up our 7th kill of the game, and I believe, what, 10,400 damage as well? Just shy of 10,500. Definitely a very solid game for the Panzer VII here, especially on the Thievul Ridge. It was a nice 12-minute game though, so can't complain. Got our mastery badge. Pascucci, or Dimitri's, sorry, I forgot they changed the medals there. And, you know, a pretty solid result for the Panzer VII, one I can't complain about. Alright, and, you know, I just wanted to finish off the video taking a look at my session in the tank. Just see what kind of damage we were able to do here, and yeah, taking a look at it. I mean, these are the past 30-day stats. We were averaging 5,333 damage over those 33 games. Yeah, not a bad session for an off-meta heavy tank in this day and age. Of course, my overall just a bit over 4.6. I have a lot of old games in it. I've only played like played it in like this kind of meta, you know, 37 games in the past 90 days. So a lot of old data factoring in here. I really sucked in this tank when I started playing it originally, so not the greatest overall. I think with a fresh Panzer VII, this could have definitely been honestly, potentially a 5k tank. I think someone with a fresh Panzer VII, a really good player, can definitely get a 5k overall average. But yeah, I mean, let's take a look. You know, looking at the 90 days, let's go ahead and pull up the full screen here. Past 90 days, 37 games, 5.2k. Pretty clear of the next highest. Let's actually sort by damage here. Mira Soft Tennis, very good player. Lots of really good players on this leaderboard, but just shy of 4.5. So yeah, I was really happy with this result actually. And if we take a look at the all-time leaderboard, we are at 4640, which is just 9 shy of the #1 spot. An old friend Tinky from Tornado. I think we definitely could have had the number one spot. That 10,000 damage game was actually the second to last game I played in the tank, and my 100th battle was unfortunately like something terrible, like 2,500 damage. It did not go well, to say the least. But I'm pretty happy with that result, though. I mean, I think it's a respectable result. I think someone can definitely beat these numbers playing a fresh Panzer VII. But overall, just a really good tank. I promised to share my thoughts, but yeah, I think the only thing I would really change about the tank is the armor, especially on the turret. I think having the gun mantlet be the weak spot on the tank can create a problem, because there's really no way of hiding it or trying to avoid being shot there. It's just kind of there, and if you're trying to do damage, they're able to see it because it is literally right next to your gun. What I would do is probably buff that gun mantlet up a bit, but then I am a big fan of having weak spots on tanks, and this is especially one of those that really needs to have one, because if you take away that gun mantlet weak spot, the tank is very, very strong armor-wise. So to combat that, I would recommend increasing the size of the cupola, because right now it's rather small on top of the turret, and probably weakening it a little bit. Something to be around about like 160 millimeters of effective armor. That way, tier 8s can still have the chance to bend through it as well. I think that would make the tank much better to play. But yeah, like I said, I had a lot of fun playing the tank, and I encourage anyone who has the Panzer VII, give it a try. You might be surprised like I was, and if you don't have it, maybe it's a tank you might want to go toward. That you never know. I know plenty of good tanks out there right now, plenty of meta tanks to grind toward, but I promise you'll like the Panzer VII, and if you don't, I'm sorry, but maybe you have a unique tank to play in your garage now. So look at the bright side of it. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.